Just recently, a video circulating on social media shows the self-identified sicario from Sinaloa delivering a message to rival groups by displaying a severe human head suspended from a drone.
America, the FAA shut down the El Paso International Airport.
Flights were announced to be grounded last night for, quote, special security reasons. That closure was supposed to last 10 days.
But here's what they're not telling you. Mexican cartel drones breached American airspace right next to Fort Bliss, one of the largest military installations in the United States.
The AP is now reporting that a new laser was used by the government to bring down those cartel drones.
And these aren't surveillance drones, folks. These are the same drones cartels use to drop severed heads in rival territory. This is what happens when you have an open border for 4 years and cartels decide they own the airspace too. What is up, guys? TYSON DELACRUZ here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. Let me walk you through what happened here because this timeline is absolutely wild. The other night, the FAA announced that they were closing El Paso airspace for special security reasons.
According to Reuters, airline sources told them the grounding of flights was believed to be tied to the Pentagon's use of counter-drone technology to address Mexican drug cartels' use of drones at the U.S.-Mexico border.
Think about what that means. El Paso is the nation's 23rd largest city. It's 6 hours away from Phoenix. You shut down that airport for 10 days. You're stranding hundreds of thousands of people. Businesses can't operate. Families can't travel. Medical emergencies can't be handled correctly.
I didn't get any notifications from the airline. I just kind of saw all the cops here and the news cameras. And
that's incredible. I've never experienced anything. I don't think I've ever read of any airport in the United States and the world that's been shut down for 10 days. Other than war.
Other than war. Let those words sink in because that's exactly what it is. The cartels are waging war on American soil. For 4 years under the Joey Biden administration, we pretend that it wasn't happening. Now here's where it gets interesting. 30 minutes after announcing the 10-day shutdown, the FAA suddenly lifted it. Just like that. The threat was, quote unquote, neutralized. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy posted on X that there was a cartel drone incursion. The threat had been dealt with and flights are resuming. But my friends, notice what he doesn't say. He doesn't say how many drones there actually were in the airspace. He doesn't say what they were actually carrying. He doesn't say exactly how they neutralized the threat. Well, we know now they used laser weapons.
So the Pentagon apparently wanted to test out this laser despite having a meeting slated for later this month to discuss the issue.
So the Pentagon is so concerned about cartel drone threats that they couldn't wait for the scheduled meeting. They had to test the laser immediately. And that test is what triggered the airport shutdown.
Late last night, the Federal Aviation Administration issued a temporary flight restriction that would have halted all flights to and from El Paso International Airport.
The FAA issued a temporary flight restriction covering a 10 nautical mile radius around the airport. That is a massive security perimeter. Everything grounded because the Pentagon needed to test a laser weapon to shoot down cartel drones. Now think about what that means. The Pentagon doesn't deploy laser weapons for hobbyist drones that they get at Best Buy. They don't just shut down major airports to test technology against recreational aircrafts. They deploy military-grade direct energy weapons when they're facing a military-style threat.
This should have never happened. You cannot restrict airspace over a major city without coordinating with the city.
And here's the kicker. The mayor of El Paso wasn't even told. The city wasn't even alerted for obvious reasons here. The airport wasn't coordinated with. The Pentagon just decided to test the laser weapon over a major American city without telling local leadership, which is totally fine in regards to public safety, in my opinion. But here's what I really think happened. The Pentagon knew cartel drones were becoming a serious threat, but then the cartel drones actually breached the airspace at Fort Bliss, and they acted immediately. They couldn't wait for that particular meeting. They had to deploy the laser right then and there. Now, let me explain why this location actually matters. Because geography is everything here. El Paso International Airport sits directly next to Fort Bliss, one of the largest military installations in the United States. Fort Bliss covers approximately 1.1 million acres. It's home to the 1st Armored Division, and it is a critical training facility for air defense artillery.
And it's worth pointing out Now, this airport serves the nation's 23rd largest city, so it could have created massive disruptions and likely still will, just given the nature of this shutdown.
And the airport is right next door. So when cartel drones breached that airspace, they weren't just threatening commercial aviation here. They were probing American military defenses. They were testing response times. This is my personal opinion. They were gathering intelligence on one of our most important military bases.
Now, U.S. officials tell CBS News that the airspace closure was triggered by Mexican cartel drones breaching U.S. airspace. Officials say the Defense Department took action to disable the drones, and there's no current threat to commercial travel.
And other news outlets confirmed it. The shutdown was tied to the Pentagon using counter-drone technology to address cartel drones at the border. So the military had to deploy active countermeasures. This wasn't just we spotted a drone and it flew away. This was we had to use a military laser weapon to shoot down a threat from a foreign criminal organization operating in American airspace. Now think about what this means. El Paso is the closest major airport to the border. It's about 10 minutes away from Juarez, one of the most violent cities in the world, controlled by the Sinaloa and Juarez cartel. And those cartels are demonstrating that they can fly drones into American airspace over a major city next to a military base and force the Pentagon to deploy laser weapons. That's not a border security problem. That is a national security crisis. Now, let me show you just how massive the drone problem really is, because what happened in El Paso isn't an isolated incident. This is happening every single day along the entire southern border.
A top general actually testified to the Senate last year that they're seeing 1,000 drone incursions from the Mexican cartels each and every month down here at the southern border.
A top general testified to the Senate that we're seeing thousands of drone incursions from Mexican cartels each and every single month. Not a year, not a week, a month. That's over 30 cartel drones crossing into American airspace almost every single day.
The criminal cartels are actually strapping bombs onto drones, and they use them against rival cartels. This is happening mostly on the other side of the border. The drones they're using, they're even bigger than those little ones that you or I would use as well. At one point, they were using French agricultural drones to carry heavier loads like drugs or, yes, explosives.
These are military platforms being used for warfare.
The cartels are also reportedly using devices to interrupt or scramble devices on the U.S. side that are tracking the criminal organizations.
And it gets worse. The cartels are using devices to interrupt and scramble our tracking systems. They're conducting electronic warfare against American law enforcement. They're jamming our signals, disrupting our surveillance, and operating with almost near impunity. So let me paint the full picture for you. 1,000 cartel drones cross into American airspace every single month. They're carrying drugs, explosives, surveillance equipment. They're using electronic warfare to jam our tracking systems. They're weaponized with bombs, and the Pentagon just deployed a laser weapon to shoot them down over a major city. This, my friends, is what 4 years of an open border gets you.
Decapitating a human being and using a drone to display that head as a warning, it is not organized crime. It is terrorism.
This, my friends, is very disturbing here. A video just surfaced showing a Sinaloa cartel sicario using a drone to display a, get this, severed human head to threaten rival cartels. Again, I'm going to repeat that. A severed human head. They decapitated someone, attached his head to a drone, and flew it over enemy territory as a warning. And here's what the Mexican president has to say about this. These cartels are not terrorist organizations. They're just criminal organizations. Really, Miss Claudia Sheinbaum? Decapitating human beings and using drones to display heads as psychological warfare is not terrorism? Okay.
Just recently, minors got lost and abducted, killed, assassinated, and then buried alive by the organized crime in Sinaloa, in the part of Concordia. And yet, there has been no display of remorse on your side.
And the Mexican government's response? Nothing. Crickets, no remorse, no accountability, just denial that these are terrorist organizations. And We can only assume we know why. This is the same technology, the same tactics, the same organizations, and they're operating on American soil. Now, here's where it gets even darker, because the drones aren't just surveillance or psychological warfare anymore.
The FBI right now is saying that the Cartel de Jalisco New Generation, known as CJNG, has instructed its members to fire across the U.S.-Mexico border at Customs and Border Protection personnel.
CJNG, one of Mexico's most violent organizations, has instructed its members to fire across the Mexico border at Customs and Border Protection personnel. Not just in cartel territory, they're urging attacks outside their own territory to draw retaliation onto rival cartels like the Sinaloa.
It's going to be, an attempt to shift the focus and blame on one cartel to get the attention of the Mexican government and the United States government. This is like, infighting within terrorist organizations.
Listen to what the retired Border Patrol Sector Chief says. This is like infighting with terrorist organizations to create problems for their enemies. Terrorist organizations, that's what he called them, because that's what they are. They're using military tactics, weaponized drones, laser resistance platforms, and coordinated attacks on American law enforcement to achieve political and territorial objectives. That's the definition of terrorism.
Agents are being warned to remain hypervigilant, closely monitor their surroundings, and wear their body armor at all times, regardless of assignment or patrol area.
Think about that for a minute, guys. American law enforcement officers on American soil are being told to wear body armor 24/7 because Mexican cartels have authorized attacks on them. This is what an open border looks like. This is what happens when you spend 4 years telling cartels that America won't defend its sovereignty. And now the Pentagon is deploying James Bond laser weapons on American soil to fight them. America, the last time El Paso shut down its airport was 9/11, and that was for only 2 days. This shutdown was supposed to last 10 days, 5 times longer than the response to the worst terrorist attack in American history. And it was because Mexican cartels flew drones into American airspace next to one of our largest military bases, forcing the Pentagon to deploy laser weapons to shoot them down. The United States military just used direct energy weapons on American soil to neutralize a threat from Mexican drug cartels. The Jalisco cartel has authorized attacks on Border Patrol agents, and these same organizations use drones to display severed heads as psychological warfare. And instead of securing the border, Biden spent 4 years pretending this wasn't happening. Now, Trump's Pentagon is deploying military-grade laser weapons to protect American cities from foreign criminal organizations. Let me know what you think about this. Drop it down in the comment section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe, and as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.